Number two, event that another factor that escalated into alleged assault of a health professional. Honorable Minister, the committee also found out that although there is videos evidence of verbal or word altercation between one Mr. Raff, his colleagues, and the staff members of the hospital, we are yet to receive any video evidence or a witness account of an alleged physical attack or altercation. There is, however, documentation in the hospital health information management system that alleged victim, that's Miss Rejoice Tutu Bote, who is a rotation nurse, reported her injury to the hospital the day after the incident, that's on the 18th, and was further treated. There was no evidence of fracture on her left wrist or dislocation of her right shoulder joint as documented by the medical records. She was, however, had been treated at the time we visited. Has been given some pain relief. He has been recommended for a bed rest and also has received psychological support care. The third objective, the state of security at the hospital at the time of the incident. Honorable Minister, the committee finds out that the security at the emergency department was grossly inadequate at the time of the incident. The hospital security arrangement of one private security personnel per 12-hourly shift at the emergency is inadequate, considering the volume of human traffic at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital emergency. A police post that is found at the premise of the hospital, but situated far away from the emergency, is also of concern. And the system is that anytime they have set, based on the four objectives given to the committee, the first one was the circumstances that led to the alleged delay in providing care to the patients brought in an emergency. The committee found that there was no delay in attending to a patient with a suspected head injury who was brought to the emergency and who was the cause of agitation by one Mr. Ralph Williams and the motorbike riders, that the patient had been abandoned and there was a delay of care. However, the committee found out that all the diagnosis images or equipment that the emergency was supposed to use to facilitate care were not functioning. And thus, images requested for the said patient had to be done outside the facility after the initial care had been given. And the committee realized that could have been the contributing factor of the perceived delay of the care of that client. Number two, event that another factor that escalated into alleged assault of a health professional. Honorable Minister, the committee also found out that although there is videos evidence of verbal or word altercation between one Mr. Raff, his colleagues, and the staff members of the hospital, we are yet to receive any video evidence or a witness account of an alleged physical attack or altercation. There is, however, documentation in the hospital health information management system that alleged victim, that's Miss Rejoice Tutu Bote, who is a rotation nurse, reported her injury to the hospital the day after the incident, that's on the 18th, and was further treated. There was no evidence of fracture on her left wrist or dislocation of her right shoulder joint as documented by the medical records.
That I had listened to their side of the story. Therefore, as a minister, I will also listen to the other side of the story. And I then constituted a committee to look into the matter, break out recommendations for implementation. A lawyer, a nurse, a medical doctor, an auditor, an HR person to go into the matter. Now, when I pulled out, my attention was drawn to a gentleman called Ralph, who was at the center of the controversy. And so he was working towards us as a group. The medical director was with me, the deputy director general was also with me. Then I asked, why did you do this, gentleman? When I asked, most of you were there. I mean, the press, you were there. So you can attest to what I'm saying. You were there with me. When I asked him, the gentleman then stretched his hand, shaking me, and trying to whisper something into my ears. Ladies and gentlemen, at this Should I push the guy that don't whisper anything into my ears? Should I snub him? Should I shout at him? Even if that guy has been prosecuted and sentenced to life imprisonment, and he stretches his hand to shake me, as a minister, as a public officer, I have the duty to stretch and greet him. So let us not reduce the fact that I shook hands with him. Does not mean that I should stop any measure or any steps that the ministry or government will take to unravel the situation. And so I understand on a more lighter note, I have been reminded of the fact that I'm a farmer. Yes, nobody needs to remind me. I'm a proud farmer, and everybody knows it. Not until my appointment, I was one of the largest rice farmers in this country, and I'm proud of that. Please, we have a lot to deliver, and some of these things will not divert our attention. That I have the health workers of this country at heart. And so any attempt by any individual or any group of people to try to incite the health professionals against government, pretending he cares more than us, is unfortunate. And we must stop that. It's an avoidable tension we must avoid. It doesn't help the sector. If indeed you are a practicing health professional in the sector, it doesn't help the sector. And so, when the delegation came back, I had to follow up. I was in the company with the Deputy Director General and other directors of the ministry. We joined the medical superintendent at the Rich Hospital, and I visited the victims. After going around, we had a closed-door meeting to discuss the issues, not insults. One, how to look at beefing on the internal security, staffing issues. So, after the closed-door meeting, I came out to address the press to categorically condemn.
At the time the gentleman was making the video, the patient had already been seen. A line had been said that antibiotics and analgesics, and infusion was running. But when he came, he wanted to be attended to in a way he felt was appropriate by his own standards, because when he came, our nurses dressed his wounds to stop the bleeding and told him to wait, because the others who were more injured than he was. And that's when he got offended and took the video that started. And so this is a tragedy.
So it was the patient himself who was making the video?
Yes, he himself.
He had a laceration over the fingers.
Exactly, over the fingers. Yeah. So they told him that, well, there are people who were more critically wounded and needed more care. So have patience.
Let's somebody else was doing
the
video on it.
So
he had the body cam. Oh, he had the body cam? Yes. From the videos, it looks like that.
So, but he did all the recording and posted it himself. So that was when it started, and then a mob came in and threatened our staff.
So because of the video, other people came from outside?
Yes, but they were already a group. I think they were a group who were moving together and the incident occurred. So when they brought the first injured, they had the most injured one, the rest joined in. So then the assumption was that their patient had been abandoned. So even if you watch the videos, the one he was showing already had an IV line that was in situ and there was fluid running on. So he had already attended to, we were waiting to go and do the scans. So when they came and then they didn't see a lot of staff surrounding him, the assumption was that they had been abandoned. So then they became violent and were attacking the staff. So the staff, those who were experienced, quickly changed their uniform clothes and wore household what they wore to work. So they didn't quickly identify them. So the only one who was still in scrap was assaulted. So she had injured. Yeah, she was injured. She even had a dislocation. So
is she around?
Yeah, she's still around. Yeah.
So let me visit the gentleman. Question.
So I offered to suture his lacerations for him. When I prepared the tray and everything, and I invited him to come over, he left. So it looks as if he wasn't interested in the care we're going to give him, because we prepared everything. We didn't ask him for any money. We got items to do everything for him. And he was nowhere to be found when we were ready to attend to him. So it's most unfortunate that it all happened, because in any case, the impression he was creating was that there was a delay in providing care. But even the one who was most injured had already received care by the time he was getting to hospital. And by the time he was making the video, we already had given him medications, and we were waiting to go and do the CT scan for him. And even by 10:30, 11, we had already done the CT scan and we knew what was going on. But unfortunately, they had created a scene and traumatized our staff. So
Is it
so
around 7:45?
Exactly.
I understand it lasted for about 2 hours.
2 hours. Yes.
So the whole tantrum
Yeah.
and aggression was around 2 hours.
You know, the victims were lying, the patients were lying there,
So
and those things
they were already admitted patients who were around. From the video, even other patients were begging him to just calm down, and this young man would not listen. So it lasted for about 2 hours, and then he finally absconded with his entourage.
Okay, so let me talk to